What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on Pitchside with Parker. And we are back for some NWSL content today. We got the Challenge Cup knockout round starting probably today as you're watching this. I'm recording this on Thursday, so tomorrow for me, but I'm getting amped up. I'm getting excited. This NWSL Challenge Cup has been a whole lot of fun. I've been really impressed with especially the quality of play and the fitness of all these players. I mean, compared to some of the other leagues that we've seen coming back, compared to a lot of the men's teams in the men's leagues, these players have really taken it seriously, and you could tell they were staying fit in the offseason. And even despite the short preseason that they had leading up to this, the quality has been top-notch. So, I've said this a few times on Twitter, but if you're not watching these games, you're missing out. That being said, now is a great time to jump in because we're heading into the knockout rounds. And another thing I want to say as well is that the NWSL has done a fantastic job putting on this tournament. I mean, they have been role models for the way to bring back sports in this country. They're using the bubble. The players have been very strict and very well behaved in terms of staying in the bubble, taking all the necessary precautions, sitting out when they need to. And I've just been really impressed with the way this has gone off. The NWSL has a chance to be the only sport to actually restart this year going off without a hitch. And I don't think you understand just how hard that is and how much logistics goes into that. So big shout out to the NWSL. They're being great role models for how the game should be played. And the players are being great role models as well. But what I'm going to do in this video is go through the opening round matchups, the draw, the seeding, and just kind of say what I think about each match and give a little preview heading forward for what you can expect to see. What are some of the games to watch? Who are some players you should be watching? Before we get into it, I do want to say thank you to everybody who's already subscribed. Like the video right now before we even get started. That is the standard on this channel. If you're watching the video, like it right now. It helps me out a lot, and it helps this video get recommended to others. If you're new to the channel, if it's the first time you're watching a video, hit that subscribe button. Come along for the ride. I make a lot of soccer videos. I make videos here and there about other things as well. But this is a channel for everybody. So come join, and if you like soccer, you like the channel. If you like sports, you like the channel. So happy to have you, and thanks to everybody who already subscribed. I'm doing a giveaway at 50 subscribers, so if you're new, this is the perfect time to jump in. Yeah, anyway, more details about that coming soon. But for now, let's get into the video.
Oh, yeah. I'm not the type of brother to play with. See a lot of people acting like oh yeah. All ball players sounding like haters. We the young kings of this generation, oh yeah.
So I'm just going to go in order of the way the games are going to be played in terms of the schedule. So we'll start with the first game of the knockout round, the 1-8 matchup, North Carolina Courage versus Portland Thorns. These are two teams who had very different expectations heading into the tournament. North Carolina, as we know, best team in the NWSL, and they really showed nothing to the contrary of that in their first 4 games. They won all 4, picked up 12 points, and easily secured the 1 seed. In fact, they had it locked up before the last game was even played. So they are certainly the favorites heading into the knockout round. But everything has been, there's a ton of parity below them. And so despite the fact that Portland are the last seed, they are the 8th seed, it's still a really talented group of players. And they could pose North Carolina some problems, as could really any other team in this tournament. But as we've said before, North Carolina really, they've been able to fend off all challengers. Sam Mewis, Lynn Williams, Crystal Dunn, all the household names that you'll probably know already. They've been playing great, and there's really no reason to believe that North Carolina will falter in this game. Portland came into this tournament with a much more developmental strategy. It will be interesting to see if that mentality shifts a little bit now that we're in the knockout stages. It was easy to say that when the games were just for seeding, but once it gets into that competitive mindset, obviously these are professional players. They want to win, and if you're North Carolina Courage, you have the biggest target on your back. So you never know what could happen, but I think it's safe to expect that North Carolina will win this game. Now, moving down the bracket, this will be the later game on Friday. We got Houston taking on Utah. And if you've seen a couple of my recent videos, you'll know that I kind of fell in love with Houston Dash early on, mostly because of the first matchup between these two. They played to a 3-3 draw where Houston was up 3-1, gave up those 2 goals late, and it ended as they split the points. But based on that first matchup, this should be a really intriguing game. Both teams kind of cooled off after the opening games, and so they're not coming in necessarily on the best of form. But both teams have a lot of game changers. Some of Houston's attacking options have looked like some of the better players in this tournament. Rachel Daly, Shea Groom especially have been really good. Stengel as well has been dynamic in attack. And then when you look at Utah Royals, they have one of the best creators in the tournament in Vera Buquete. She's a wonderful, wonderful playmaker, and a lot of the good things that they've done have gone through her. Amy Rodriguez up top, fantastic striker, and without Kristen Press, she has still been putting in great performances, even bearing all the load on her own. So I hope that this is a really good matchup between these two. I hope that we can get what we got out of that first game, because I think coming into this, Houston is going to be a little bit upset. They could not have been happy with the way that they gave away that 3-1 lead in the last game, especially considering the fact that Rachel Daly had actually put the ball in for a fourth goal and then it got disallowed. I'm sure they're going to be a bit frustrated over that and kind of want to right their wrongs from that game. So for that reason, despite Utah being, the home team here and having some good performances, I'd say they might have got the worst draw in this entire knockout stage, because it was all these teams jostling for position. And I'm sure when they saw Houston Dash come up, they got a little nervous. They thought, they gave us a great game in the first game. They're going to be upset at the way that it went down. And you could definitely see how they'll have a little extra motivation heading into this one. And then, of course, the winner of this game most likely will have to end up playing North Carolina Courage. So not really a spot that either of these teams want to be in, but I think they'll focus just on this game first, and hopefully it should be a really, really entertaining game of soccer. So moving on chronologically, we'll head down to the other side of the bracket, and we'll talk about Sky Blue FC versus Washington Spirit. I think this has the potential to be the most exciting game of this first round of the knockout stages. These are two teams that play very nice soccer. Sky Blue came into this tournament with pretty much zero expectations. They're missing some of their biggest stars, Carly Lloyd, Mallory Pugh. They've kind of put together this roster of players from a little bit of everywhere. One of their breakout stars in this tournament has been Jennifer Cujo, and shout out to Daniel for leaving a comment on my last video mentioning her when he was saying that everybody in Asheville is rooting for Jennifer Cujo. She used to play for Asheville City. I'm here in Asheville recording this video. I've actually played with Jennifer before, and she's a outstanding baller. I could never keep up with her on the field, and you can see it if you've watched some of the Sky Blue games. So we're certainly all rooting for them, but she's been a dynamic piece of this Sky Blue team that they really like to move the ball quick. They've tried to play some really good soccer, and they've been put up against good teams. I mean, even in their 2-0 loss to North Carolina Courage, that was one of their best games of the tournament. So they're coming in on good form compared to a lot of these teams, and that's a tough matchup for Washington Spirit. They certainly will not have been happy at the way that this draw shook out to get Sky Blue in the first round as a 2 seed. But that being said, there's a reason they are the 2 seed. Outside of North Carolina, they probably look like the strongest team throughout the preliminary rounds of this Challenge Cup, and they've certainly got the star power. Rose Lavelle is in there, although she does come into this game with some injury questions about her ankle, so whether or not she plays should make a bit of a difference. And then the other injury concern for them as well is Andy Sullivan. She went down in their last game, and she has a torn meniscus, so she will be out for the knockout rounds. And that'll be a big blow to Washington Spirit because she really anchors that midfield for them. Even with that being said, they're a very impressive team. They've done a great job just keeping the ball. They've been pretty much the best possession team in this tournament. So they play really nice soccer. So does Sky Blue. Neither of these teams really has an outstanding back line. So I think we could be in store for the best game of the knockout rounds right here with Washington versus Sky Blue Saturday at 12:30 Eastern. So be sure to tune in for that one. And then last but maybe least as well, we got OL Reign taking on Chicago Red Stars. Red Stars have pretty high hopes coming into the tournament, even without their leading goal scorer and reigning MVP best player Sam Kerr. They haven't really found that goal scoring touch since then. Their defense has looked really sturdy, as you would expect, with the likes of Julie Ertz, Alyssa Nair, Tierna Davidson, and the rest. So their defense is really solid. OL Reign, on the other hand, they don't really like to score goals, so that could be an issue. Don't really expect to see a lot of offense from OL Reign in this one. But as I said, Red Stars have also found a little bit of trouble scoring goals as well. So these are two teams that some of their games have been a little bit of snooze fest throughout the tournament. And the fact that they got matched up with each other, I mean, very unfortunate for the neutral. But if you look at this from each team's perspective, I actually think this is about the best matchup that either team could have hoped for. Because as I said, there was a ton of parity, a bunch of teams on 4 points in between the 1 and the 8 spot. And the way that things shook out for these two teams to be matched up against each other, OL Reign honestly probably had the worst performances of any team, including Portland, who's the 8 seed. And they ended up with the 3 seed, which means they avoid NC Courage. So you have to say it's a good draw for them. And then for Chicago, as the 6 seed, having to face a 3, to get OL Reign in that matchup, really pretty good. And obviously for them too, avoiding North Carolina Courage was always the goal. So realistically, I think this is a great draw for both teams. OL Reign hopefully could come out with a little more than we've seen from them. They do have a couple players back available, Jess Fishlock and Sofia Huerta, who we didn't see in some of the earlier games. So hopefully they come to play here in the knockout stages. And I think a lot of teams will, because we're at the point in the tournament where things are really going to ramp up. Throughout the tournament, it's already been super competitive, as I said before, very high level of soccer and very fun to watch, chippy, competitive. And you could just see with the amount of parity in the results that these teams are very closely matched. So I think we could see a lot of these games that might go to penalties. That is something to note, is that in these knockout rounds, if they're drawn after 90 minutes, they will go to penalties. So keep that in mind, because some of these lower teams, some of these more defensive teams, they will be playing for penalties. Don't get it mistaken, because any chance to knock off a top team and advance throughout the tournament, they'll certainly do that. I'm looking at you, Portland Thorns. So people will be coming for the crown. I still think North Carolina Courage are the favorites, but the overall theme here is that we're in for some great soccer. And if you haven't tuned into the NWSL yet, you're watching this video and hearing about it, I'm telling you, now is the time to jump in. I fully admit, as I said in my last video during the preview for this Challenge Cup, I'm a new fan to the NWSL. I've watched a lot of women's soccer before, I just haven't had the chance to watch this league, and I've been so impressed with what I've seen. So I couldn't recommend it highly enough. Buy that CBS All Access package, because that's how you can watch the games. And the more subscriptions they get, the more they'll put this women's soccer on TV, which is only going to be a good thing. Hopefully, the numbers will show just how big this is and how far this league has come.